Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. How are you all doing? I hope you're having a wonderful week. So I just wanted to hop on today to deal with how not to deal with a food craving. I've had a lot of questions in the last week about this very topic about food cravings. And given the fact that that's really what I, focus on a lot, those of you who know, who do work with me, we are dealing with, trying to have you, not trying, we are getting you into a beautiful space of finding your beautiful, strong, gorgeous body, ideal health, ideal weight, and staying there for life. So that's what it's all about. That's what I help women do. And so food cravings are part and parcel, aren't they, of what a lot of us deal with in this modern day society, a modern day food system that we live in. Food cravings are part of the territory. They're just a hazard of modern day living. And so I just wanted to very quickly hop on tonight and address that, because I've had about 4 questions come into my inbox this week, and I'm like, okay, I just have to quickly hop on and address that. And so I'm going to make it the topic of my Monday live. So welcome. I'm just going to grab my comments up so I can see here. Leah, Kelly, Barbara, Janet, Pam, how are you doing, Pam? Mariella, hello. I hope you're all having a beautiful, healthy, happy and wonderful week. So number one, really what I wanted to talk about is how not to deal with them, and why it's not important, why it's important not to deal with them in this particular way. So hi Janine, that's somebody new to our live stream. All right, hello Matt. So here's the deal. Number one, do not ignore them. And what I mean by that is, I think sometimes when you are hit with a food craving, it's very easy to kind of try to ignore it. Oh, whatever, distract. It's not really happening. I'm just going to go and, start scrolling in my phone, or I'm going to go and, switch on Netflix or do something that's going to just distract me. Because a lot of people, a lot of sort of dietary experts, will say, well, you've got to distract yourself. Well, actually, I think, hi, Virginia. I think actually, hi, Christy. Hi, Serene. I think that distracting yourself is the worst thing that you can do. That is literally how not to deal with a food craving. It's like, oh, go distract, go sort of, think of something different, turn on the TV and watch something to take your mind off of it. Well, that's not going to work. And that's not what I teach the women who are in my coaching program, who we really go really deep into this. And there's a whole process and a whole way that we approach craving food, because there's a problem underneath the problem. There's something underneath there. There's a reason why you've got those food cravings. And honestly, hi Marie, honestly, to try and ignore it or distract actually is going to make it even worse. And isn't that the case with anything in life, right? If there's something that's like bugging you or hurting you, or somebody who's, it's like saying to a child, who's having a really hard time, and they're going, I'm really having a hard time with something here. I'm really having a hard time. And you're like, oh, never mind. Let's just turn on the TV, or go get into Facebook, or, TikTok, or whatever you watch, and don't even, think about it. No, we have to deal with it. So that is the number one. Okay, number one, do not ignore it if you have a food craving and pretend that it's not there, and don't distract. There are times for distracting. For distract isn't quite the right word. There's times for when you want to refocus or move your attention away from possibly the food that you're craving onto something else, but that's a complicated process, and that's something I go into. It's hard to just explain like that. It is a process, and that's a process that I teach my clients, is where we really actually learn to rewire your neural pathways and so that you do approach a food craving very, very differently. Hi, Beverly. Hi, Kathy. Oh, you did, Kathy. That's amazing. So Kathy just ordered a Sattva bed. I love the Sattva beds. Kathy asked me what is a non-toxic, mattress bed that I would recommend, and I love the Sattva mattresses. So I'm so glad you did, Kathy. Okay, so number one, ladies, we're talking about tonight of how not to deal with a food craving. Number one, don't ignore it and pretend it's not there. And go, oh, never mind, whatever. Because when we ignore any of our feelings, which a food craving is a cascade of a lot of different feelings. It's biochemical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's everything else. Not a good situation. Number two, don't go into shame and blame. Shame, blame, and self-judgment, because there is so much shame and blame, self-blame around food craving. Like there's something wrong with me. That would be the shame piece, right? There's something wrong, right? I am defective. I'm bad. I'm a bad person. That's where the shame is. And there is so much shame, there just is, depending on your eating patterns throughout your life. But I think honestly, whether it's a full on, whether you are a binge eater, whether you have some kind of disordered eating, or whether, which most of us, I've yet to meet anybody or virtually anybody who doesn't sort of comfort eat in some ways, and that comfort eating can turn into, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. That's the sort of, oh, I shouldn't have had that. Why did I eat that? We can very easily go into you're a bad person, you should, the shoulding and the shame and the blame. So that's not positive either. So I really wouldn't recommend that. What we really want to do is treat ourselves with love and compassion and understanding, and really gain a greater and deeper understanding of where this is all coming from and why you're having this. Food cravings are both in our brain, they are biochemical, it's indicative often of not nourishing yourself properly, very, very often the case. But it's many, many, many different things. It's not just one thing. It's not some simplistic answer. But what I wanted to stick to the topic tonight is, hi, Lorraine, hi, Sandy, oh my gosh, is how not to treat one. Matt, what would you recommend for substituting foods with a lot of sugar in them? That's a really, really great question. Honestly, Matt, what needs to happen, and this, as Sandy knows, because Sandy's done my coaching program, is moderation doesn't work. So you have to remove basically all refined sugars and all sugars. And this is where there's a great myth that, if I eat whole food, plant-based, or eat healthy sugars such as maple syrup or honey if you're not vegan, or coconut sugar, there's always another new faddy kind of, sugar is the healthy sugar. You see all those recipes on Instagram that are just like, hey, it's a healthy cookie or a healthy whatever. Well, it might be plant-based, but if it's full of coconut sugar or maple syrup, it's not a health food, and it will just lead to more food cravings, basically. So this is such a great question, Matt. So actually, really what we're talking about is having to remove all the foods that could trigger you. And we go into this in my program, don't we, Sandy? It's called the pleasure trap, foods that can take you in and out of the pleasure trap. And a lot of us get stuck in that pleasure trap because we are continuing to eat those foods. So therefore, you will always have food cravings, always. Brilliant question. Thank you for asking that. Okay. And I'll go into that, Matt. Helene, how are you? I hope you're feeling better, Helene. I'll go into this, Matt. I'll do a whole live stream on that topic because it's a really good topic. So another thing not to do is to ignore the fact that there are triggers. And this actually feeds into this one, Matt, which is there are many triggers for food cravings. And the triggers can be outer triggers and they can be inner triggers. And the inner triggers can be so many different things. And again, when I go deeply into this with my coaching clients, because we have to really, really understand what the inner triggers are. You know, they can be physical, but they're very often emotional. And it's very, very important to understand why you have them, what happens, why you've got them. And again, ignoring your real needs is really not what you want to do. Part of it is it's very important to understand vitally important to understand what your triggers are and why, possibly why they're there. There might be a lifetime of triggers that you've had. And so there are those inner triggers, which can be your brain. We have to really understand how our brain works. It can be emotional. It can be mental. That's why I always say, to everybody, and please go watch my masterclass if you are having a problem with your weight loss journey, your health and weight loss journey. I've put it in the caption of the descriptor of this video, so you can go about this live stream. So I put a link in there so you can watch my masterclass if you haven't already. But I go over all the different 5 shifts that are really important to make, because it's not just one thing. But I do address craving a little bit in that masterclass, and that it really is about feeding our body with foods that our body really craves. But in order to get to that point, for your body to really crave the foods that are going to nourish you so that you won't crave the unhealthy foods, you've got to get over this hump. And getting over the hump really takes an enormous amount of self-compassion, of understanding, and really learning and digging in to see what the problem underneath the problem actually is. And this is really, really important. Hi, Yvette. Helene, I just want to look at that, Helene. Oh my gosh, Helene, that's such good news. Your new treatment is helping, taking a break from chemo a couple of weeks. Oh gosh, well, more love, light, prayers, healing, and everything that we've got coming to you. Beautiful, Helene. Okay, and then the outer triggers there are so many. All right, so we live in a world that is constructed, is set up to manipulate us with triggers everywhere we look, that we step. Honestly, you cannot literally walk out of your house unless you live, maybe where you live, LA. But honestly, if you live in North America, or if you live in wherever, you cannot leave your home. Well, even in your home, TV, advertising, magazines, you go to the store, you see the billboards, it's everywhere. And they know what they're doing. The marketers, the advertisers, the food industry, they know how to manipulate you so that you will, because it's in their best interest for you will crave food. You will. And that food, when eaten, will make you happy. That's what it's all about. That's what they are telling you, and that's what they will have you believe. And it is enormously manipulative. And for goodness knows how many years, 80 years now, scientists and the neuroscientists and the brain experts and the behavioral scientists and everybody else is at work 24/7 to hack into your brain and figure out what they can get you, how they can get you to crave, basically. So that would be an outside trigger. So in order to outwit them, it takes a lot. So if anybody ever tells you, oh, you can get over your food cravings just by distracting yourself, or just by, looking at these 6 tips of how to get over food cravings, or read an ebook, or do whatever it is, it ain't gonna happen. And I really want to drive this home to you, because those things are just band-aids and they don't work. And what's even worse is that you do something like that. You go, I'll get the ebook, or I'll get the thing, or whatever, I'll read the book, or I'll watch the YouTube video, and then you feel bad when it doesn't work, because you then go into shame, blame, and judgment, because you're like, oh, I should have figured that out. I shouldn't be having these cravings. But like anything in life that you really want, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of work and commitment and drive and understanding and resourcefulness to go in and do that inner work, to be able to get over something, if it is something that incapacitates you, food cravings, which it does for a lot of people. It's not a magic fix. It's not a quick fix. Sandy knows that. Others that have worked with me know that. It is not. Don't let anybody tell you that it is, because it's not. Or even worse, it's like, here's a magic pill, or here's a supplement that you can take that will take your food cravings away, or drink this drink and it will. It's all utter BS, because it's just something that's giving you kind of false hope, but it won't. You have to do the inner work, and for some, this inner work is I was going to say it's brutal. It's not brutal, but you got to get in and you got to do it 100%. Because if you, unfortunately, with something like food craving, it's a little bit like weaning yourself off, weaning. If you're a cigarette smoker or an alcoholic or a drug addict, to go, well, I can, just have a little bit of this and a little bit of that and have everything in moderation. Most people can't do that. Most people can't. Some people can. You might be that rare person who can, and good for you. And you're very lucky if you can, if you're that person. I think maybe in the whole time that I've been teaching and been in this space and been in this community where we're looking at health and weight loss and everything else, I think maybe 1% of people can go, oh, I'm fine. I can eat everything in moderation. I can have just a little handful of potato chips, or, a couple of, one little tiny cookie or something. But that's a rarity. That certainly is not me. and so that's why it takes a little bit more. So honestly, if you're struggling, go look at my masterclass. As I said, I popped it in the caption, whether you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook. It's in the caption, the descriptor to this live stream, and go take a look at that. You can see how I outline the shifts that I have my clients make to really crack it, knock it on the head, once and for all. All right. Yvette, how's that little dog of yours, Charlie? Oh my gosh, I love seeing all your posts. You're looking so beautiful. Yeah, it's kind of a strong will, but it is and it isn't. Yvette, I don't go with a lot of strong willpower. I don't think that's necessarily the most useful thing. I think won't power is a different way of framing it, is a little bit more powerful. Maureen, how lovely to see you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I think that's Anne who said she was in that shame mode after eating sweets and sugar. Yeah, just let go of that. Let go of it. Because the thing is with the shame gets you in a cycle, and it just breeds more. When we're unkind to ourselves, which is really what shame is, because you're telling yourself you're a bad person, then that's a belief, right? So you're feeding into that belief of you're bad, I'm a bad person, I should be ashamed of myself, I'm disgusting, or whatever else it is. And then look at that. There's a belief there. There's a story there. So I really, that's a place you really don't want to go. It is not helpful. And if there was that's probably the most important point of how not to deal with the food craving, is if you have the craving and you give into it, is start treating yourself with love and compassion, and not shame and blame and awful judgment. So I'm glad that you got that. All right, my friends, I gotta go. This was a quick one tonight. Have a fantastic week, and treat yourself with love, treat yourself with compassion, feed yourself with nourishing foods, because that is another huge part of avoiding food cravings in the first place. If you're not nourishing yourself, if you're doing all that silly business like calorie counting and food restriction and all that, carb counting and carb cycling, then you probably will food cravings. Just saying, because you're not nourishing your body with your body's preferred source of fuel, which are beautiful complex carbs. But check out, I think I did a YouTube video on that really recently, actually. I think that came out last week. So if you want more on that topic, and I try to back up my YouTube videos with scientific, with evidence-based studies and things for you to dig into a little bit deeper. So go check that out as well. Cindy, lovely to see you. Janet, lovely to see you. Kathy, sweet dreams in your beautiful Sattva mattress when that arrives. Love you all. Hi, Diane. And prayers, let's all send our prayers to Helene this week. She's taking a break from her treatment, but lots of love and light. And beautiful Leah, lovely to see you too. All right, good night, everybody. Good night.